Take four.
Hello, hello, hello. Great evening, great afternoon, great morning. Welcome to Moments of Mindset Flow State. And this is my opportunity to share my innermost thoughts, my self-reflections, and it's rare occasions when I am truly called and my soul is moved to connect with another open-souled being that resonates on multiple frequencies that I do. And what better way to have my first amazing special guests? This is my brother. I love him, Mr. Anthony Thomas. He is a savant. He would never admit that, but being in his presence, learning from him, growing with him in terms of opening up pathways, and he knows what I'm talking about creatively, to allow it to flow and changing your state of mind and just going for it and getting in a platform. We met on the Wisdom platform, the Wisdom community, which we are both an intricate part of, and our friendship, brotherhood, relationship has flourished in so many ways. And I remember when he came on to Moments of Mindset and I saw his profile picture and it was with his grandson. It was an instant kismet recognized, because that put me on parallel with how I feel about my grandson's soul. And it was instant connection, and we've had amazing communication and connections, and he allowed me to come on to a little bit of synergy. If you have not subscribed, if you have not gone to the YouTube, please do so. A little bit of synergy. It is amazing. It's an open forum. It is awesome conversations, and you will walk away completely enriched from the inside out. And if you don't, reach out to me and we can have a discussion about it. But I want to welcome my brother in charms, Mr. Anthony Thomas. He's actually the brilliance behind a lot of my content with the binaural beats. He lent his genius to the Wisdom collection and the visual treatment. Anything you hear in the background, the binaural beats, that is all Mr. Anthony Thomas. And we're here to talk about success and what that means, what that's meant. But before we dive in, I would love my brother to just come up and just share a little bit about yourself. I'm so very thankful that you are here and you just decided to come on with me after a busy night of recording, a little bit of synergy, and you decided to get into a flow with me. So I love you, brother, and I appreciate this conversation because I know it's going to be amazing.
Awesome. What an awesome introduction. Thank you. Thank you for that. I couldn't ask for more. So I'm Anthony Thomas, 11001 in the cyber world. That's binary code. The 11001 translates to 24 in hexadecimal. The number 24 is an angel number. It's a holy number. It actually translates to a message. It's a message from the angels to continue on your present path with passion and enthusiasm, to believe in yourself and your inner talents and abilities in order to find success and achieve your desires and aspirations, to trust that achieving your goals is within sight. All right, that's just a little intro. That's just a little rabbit hole just to begin things with.
My dad's birthday was August 24th.
Awesome.
You heard me say it. Synchronicity is the new normal.
It is the new normal.
Yeah.
Someone pointed out the other day that synchronicities are coincidences, are miracles for people without faith.
I dig it.
Yeah. So I'm your musician friend, you know. Um, I I've got a background in educationally. I've got a background in chemistry, quantum chemistry, um, and I'm an IT professional. Um, I'm kind of an industrial musician with a affinity for sacred geometries, polyrhythms, and odd time signatures, kind of stuff you hear in New Orleans jazz, and you also hear in some European metal nowadays. Uh, but there's that. So you mentioned a little bit of synergy. Um, every time we meet, there's a little bit of synergy firing off. it's just, it's just growing, brother. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. It is cool because I talk about this all the time, and so do you. Like when it comes to manifesting, and a lot of times people think that it is just something that is a buzzword, or and without debating that, if you open up your mind and allow yourself to connect the dots without you having to utilize your conscious thinking of how am I going to connect the dots, and you getting to the ebb and flow, and with a thought attached with the feeling, you put dots out there for others that are looking to connect with your dot, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty amazing when you just surrender to it and allow it to happen. And you know, just touching on, man, I'm just so excited about what happened, I would say, pre-game to this episode. Early on in the week, my son Hunter is going to be living with me for, just some time, right? A little transition. And, this week has been one of me relinquishing what my routines would normally be to make sure that his structure is fortified and we start fresh and anew with some new intentional practices to build those conscious habits so they can be successful in school. Because part of the reason of transitioning over here, he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do academically, basketball, that sort of, right? And so it's something that I planted in the universe, a seed 10 years ago, and that's another rabbit hole. But to have him here, and every time I pregame, I listen to music, and I was vibing out on different music, and I let him, have one of my earbuds, and we were jamming to Masego, and I love how dope he is when it comes to the instrumentals. And so he was listening to some of the music, and then he was like, "Hey, maybe sometime I'll allow you. Would you like to do it with me?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And part of the reason for that, I shared with him, my dad wasn't much of a talker, but he talked with his playlist. So he would say, "Hey, Rod, you want a glass of wine?" At that time, I wasn't much of a wine drinker, and it was Pinot Grigio Ecco Domani. And I would sit down with him. He'd get his iPod out and just go through a list, and that was us bonding. And so I was telling Hunter, to be at this place where he and I are sitting and vibing out to music before my show, like that's nostalgic and creating new memories all in the same breath, right?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
expands that synergy, just in the bloodline, right? And so I was like, man, I couldn't wait to get on here and share that with you, because I know that you would have an appreciation, like for a moment
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember when we got our kids the first MP3 players one Christmas,
Yeah.
and I got to load it up with music. So I loaded it up with, let's see, I put some Johnny Cash on there. I put some Soundgarden on there, Iron Maiden. Oh man, what else did I just, this and that? Just some Tool, I think some Rage Against the Machine, 311, this and that. It was just the first opportunity to connect with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with all those different artists that you put on there, those are storytellers, right? So imagine, you know, I was read bedtime stories. I've read stories to my children as well. And so, you know, by you putting a list together of songs to connect, it's like you telling them a story through the vibration and sound of music. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's so dope how if we can really create an experience and share the experience with others once we know how something makes us feel. And from father to son, we want to convey all sorts of messages. You know, the lyrics in the song tied in with the positivity, and you go the whole gamut, right? And to be able to do that,
Yeah.
man, it's like, yo, is there another feeling like it? You know, to have that Mufasa, Simba, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Bro, so I'll share something with you. But one of my passions is dancing. I've always been a dancer. I love it. And my son, he too can dance. And there's a period of time, you know, adolescent, teenage, where maybe it's not so cool. And so he and I were, we were dancing together, you know, right here in my kitchen, right? So to have that experience with him prior to coming on with you, I was already excited, man. It's like what we were saying earlier, the synchronicity being the new normal, because we've been training our mind to formulate through the curiosity in our imagination to bring about more of these feelings, more of these situations where we can all in the same breath. When you start talking about Benji, I'm there with you. And and you're painting a picture and I can feel it. Like, to be able to do that, man, it's whew, you can't deny it. You can try,
No.
but then you're just denying yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think both our grandsons have long locks of hair. I don't know if you've been getting this, but they keep saying, "Is that your daughter? Is that your granddaughter?" No, that's my grandson. We've got this tradition in our family where we grow the baby boys' hairs out just as long as possible until they just can't handle them anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah.
Did you know I had locks?
I saw it. I saw it on the book that you sent me.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I had it for 8 years.
Really?
So it was all the way down my back.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a spiritual journey, man. Those locks were like my chrysalis or cocoon. When I cut them, that was me drying my wings.
Yeah, I feel that. I had long ass hair in college. We weren't allowed to grow it past our collar in high school. I went to Catholic high school, so it was, you know, uniforms and dress codes and all that shit.
Yeah,
which is cool. It taught us how to groom ourselves and dress ourselves properly. Everything. But college was a explosion, you know. Just a blowing out, man, it was great.
Yeah,
joined fraternity as soon as I got out. My first semester there, I joined Phi Kappa Phi. Phi Kappa Phi. You know what I mean? We wasted a lot of time, man. Oh, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, the college experience, man. I had, you know, I traveled around because of, you know, competing, playing basketball. I followed the money scholarship-wise. So freshman year, University of Nebraska. Sophomore year, San Jacinto College back in Pasadena, Texas, not too far from home. Junior year, St. Mary's University in San Antonio. And then after that, I decided to stop playing and got my undergrad at the University of Houston. So I was able to have multiple campus experiences, you know, in a short span of time, while having probably 85% of my school paid for. You know, so I'm blessed that I don't have to worry about the exorbitant student loans, and if that, I was blessed, because actually when I went to U of H, it was pretty, I think it was before they got their accreditation, so it was reasonable. But now they have the bells and the whistles and so it's ridiculous. You know, back then when I would take summer, I would get 9 hours for, I don't know, 500, 600 bucks.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a cheap education right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, it's funny, you know, just talking about colleges and things, going through, they had a sales program. I was double majoring finance and marketing because I wanted to have, you know, multiple ways to go, right? And so they had a program at the time, it was called the Program for Excellence in Selling. And I believe now it's called the Sales Excellent Institute, right? And so one of the awesome parts about that program, we not only got the in-class theory, but we had to apply it, because for our sales mixer, we had a territory of people to call. We could go out on our own and find, you know, hiring managers, sales managers to come to our sales mixer, which is the job fair for the program, as well as selling advertisements to our celebrations magazines, and, you know, tables at the graduation induction ceremony, and sponsorships at all different levels of companies, and all those sorts of things. So that was setting me up for, you know, what my idea of success coming out of college, not having the basketball career and that financial success, digging myself out of a hole to like, well, I guess I need to get into corporate. And that was a successful thing. I was actually the first male in the history of the program to ever win top producer. The program had been around for 7 years, and women, you know, they're bad to the bone. So they were killing it.
Right.
Yeah. And I came in with a hunger, and I was blessed with opportunities. And, you know, I actually walked the stage and, you know, paid honor to my family because I won multiple awards, and they had no idea that I was going to go across the stage, you know, with sponsorships and the like, right? And so I thought that was the next path for success, was that corporate, right? And you know, we can go into that, but that was initially, you know, in my 20s, 22, 23, like, oh man, got into pharmaceutical sales before I even graduated. I can't wait to get into all that sort of stuff, without even really understanding, did I have a passion for that? What is drawing me to it? And I was just like, let's get the money. And yeah, that was a journey and a chapter in my life of like, oh man, what society holds as success. And so, you know, share with me your process of thoughts with regard to, you know, success.
Okay, so I guess we're similar in age, and the I guess early 2000s, post college, post trade school, post dashed military dreams. Another rabbit hole we can go down. But you can ask Andrea or Raquel about it. She'll tell you a funny story. I went straight to the corporate world in IT. I mean, I started out as like a print guy, a courier. I did all the print jobs and everything for this company, GuideStar Health System. They're not around any longer. But I started off making $10 an hour, and then within a few years, I was making like 40 to 60,000 in IT. I grew by leaps and bounds. I should have stayed here. because my grandfather got me a job working for the power company, Alabama Southern Company, Alabama Power. Well, Southern Company encompasses the lower 5 states of the Southeast United States. I was set. My grandfather retired from the power company as the head of the union. He was kind of a big deal, but it wasn't enough. So I kept on growing, and I went to a job that I wasn't really qualified for. And about that time, 9/11 happened, and then we had our third child, and that was where I experienced my first. I was about 30 years old, so I guess you'd call that my first Saturn's return, you know? And really got my ass kicked. I went from making mega bucks to working for Ruby Tuesdays, and that was like the only job I could hustle up. So after 9/11, man, it was really, the world was really shook up. The IT world was really shook up. I couldn't buy a job. Tried to go out on my own. That for the first time, didn't work. Didn't work, man. Where are we heading with this?
No, I was just asking in terms of, success, how you defined it, initially, I started out. Yeah.
Initially, meaning like,
you were going down the path where we were kind of similar, paralleling around 2000s. Mm-hmm. You were starting to talk about a couple of the positions. You took a position, Southern, because of your grandfather, and then you took a position that you weren't necessarily qualified for, and then you were just kind of sharing along that path of that job, and I believe you're segueing into something else.
Well, that was my initial definition of success.
Okay.
A lot of moolah, a lot of money, and a lot of responsibility. But then, from there, I left the corporate world and went into the trade world, and I started doing physical work. The height of that, literally and figuratively, was years, like the 4 years I spent climbing cell towers. That was doing telecommunications work. About the most extreme thing I've ever done in my life.
Oof. Oof. And part of the reason why I wanted to talk about just success and how it differs in different places in our lives, in our journey. I was, whenever I'm on social media like Instagram, I look for Kobe Bryant as an inspiration, right? And obviously I loved him as a basketball player and watched, just his sheer determination. But I never really paid that much attention when he retired to any of the speeches or there's no reason why, I just didn't. But after he passed, just to see and pay attention to the last few interviews that he gave, and how giving with the information, and how he went from solely look at me to really shaping and changing what his thoughts were towards success, because obviously he was at the pinnacle of it, one of the greatest ever. And so I was listening to something online, and I wanted to share this quote from Kobe Bryant, and it was talking, about his definition of success. And he says, "As a kid, I said I wanted to be the best ever. And you go through life, and everything you do, everything you want to be the best ever, the best ever, the best ever. And as you get older, you start understanding that those things are very superficial things, and everybody has a different opinion about it. No matter what you do, I can win 20 championships. There's always an opinion on who's the best, everybody has different opinions. And so I started really kind of understanding maybe that it's not the important thing. Maybe the important thing is, how do we as a team grow? How do I help my teammates be better? So that was the first change for me. How are you inspiring others, right, to find themselves? That is the ultimate championship. So I won 5 championships. That's great. Another team won this year. Another team's going to win next year. Those things come and they go. But what stays is, how do you use your passion and use that to inspire somebody else to create their passion? And then how can they pass that on to the next person? That is true success. And, resonating for me, because getting into the space of content creation, and, you have the elevator talk and people. So what is it that you do? What solutions do you create? What problems do you solve? And you put yourself in a box of, hey, I'm a guide, I'm a coach, I'm a facilitator, I'm a lifestyle coach, I'm a this. And, as entrepreneurs, we paint outside the lines so that others can see a new way. So you paint outside the lines only to put yourself back in the confines of those that are of somewhat unconscious mind, right? And so it's energetically, it's kind of pulling like, well, where do I fit? Do I follow this protocol of sustainability that all the savants and the experts that have all the ad spin and they do have success, but do you follow that and be part of the sheep, right? Or do you carve your own way? And if you are carving your own way, are you going to judge yourself based upon what the entirety of where you are in the industry, what that means? You know what I mean? Does it mean that you have a funnel where you are 10xing, your profits at the, all those sorts of things that we hear and we're bombarded with, right? And so that's fast forwarding from where I was corporate wise to being in the space of service, of really creating for the benefit of others, knowing that the fulfillment of doing that comes when I can come on your show and I can surprise you with a piece that speaks specifically to what you stand for in your art, in your passion, right? That's something that no one could ever take away, and can't put a price tag on it, because that's hours that has been able to bring us together so that we can create music and other art for others, and so that's the success, being able to really be able to find that connection and live in the ebb and flow of the downloads that end up turning into ideas and concepts and new ways to express ourselves and empower others to do the same. And so, just that trajectory of the Kobe's and the people that really have done it at a high level, for somebody like him to open up and really expand his mind on what success is, really, it really drew me in and made me go deep and be introspective and reflect on my life and how am I, with my kids, with my grandson, with those around me, how am I being, how am I honoring that?
Yeah. Kobe reminds me of one of the most famous people I know personally is Charles Barkley. And he's a good soul. He really is. He's as good a person as he comes across on TV. He's from Leeds, Alabama, where I'm from, and I knew his brother really well. His brother Daryl, tight. About as humble and sweet of people as you could be,
Yeah.
And the epitome of success. I think they would agree that at the heart of it is giving.
Yeah.
The more you give, or you give, and you give to get into that flow.
Yeah.
That's like how you get into the river there, is by your heart opening up to service, serving your fellow man. You know, it's like, okay, oh, you know, all right, how about from a Christian standpoint or a biblical standpoint? At what point did God reverse the curse of Job? Remember
When?
when Job's heart was turned to pray for his friends, when Job turned from bitterness and resentment and questioning and doubt to praying for his friends' sake, and that opened his heart to service.
Yeah.
That's when he entered the river. Job became a picture of prosperity, absolute abundance in the end. You know. Anyway, that's redefined my picture of success. I tell you what, Roger, when I'm with my sons and my grandson, I feel like I feel rich, man. I feel rich. I I am not worried about the small shit at all.
Yeah.
I just I feel wealthy and I'm grateful. Gratitude, man. Gratitude is part of what fuels abundance. It's what fuels manifestation. I'm learning. So being in that state of gratitude, it's like some secret magic there, man. But it's important, you know.
Yeah. Grace and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've said it multiple times, but it's a loving reminder of God and his agape love. Every single day that we are blessed to take breath in and see another day of life, the slate is clean because of his love and his grace. So if the highest power, the Alpha, the Omega, can bestow grace on us, who are we not to, one, have grace with ourselves, two, with others, right? That's a slap in the face to not be intentional with it. And even if you're not, to learn to be open to that grace and that gratitude, man, because that's a bonding. You know, Lois talks about the Ho'oponopono, like that, that prayer all the time, and that is about forgiveness. Let's come to the common ground. I'm sorry, I love you, forgive me, like those sorts of open honesty for finding wholeness and finding back unity, because when somebody's been wrong, that obviously can't feel good. So like, how can we fix it, right? Allow me to do my best and honor the bond, whatever it may be, to say, you know what, I am sorry, will you forgive me, I love you, that sort of stuff, right? And so to be able to always be in the momentum and the synergy of that, as you mentioned, once we started looking to be of service, man, the manifestations are coming hand over foot. And you could even look back to seeds that were planted, and I mentioned when over 10 years ago, when Hunter's mom and I split, I wanted him to be with me, and there was still that anger between the both of us of the breakup and all this sorts of stuff. So it's like, you're keeping score, and I can't wait, or what's my, what are my chances of getting custody, like all that sort of ego-driven bullshit, right? So I wanted it, but under not the right pretenses and not the right energy of love. Fast forward 10 years, being open, moving closer to him to, train him basketball wise, to be able to lend support to his mom should anything arise, because the healing in our relationship and our friendship, right? So we are working together to raise our son. And now the opportunity fell into my lap, just for context, where he came over and now he's staying here currently because of being open to change, being open to love. I wasn't ready. I didn't have the capacity back then to guide him how he should be guided now. And so God knew that. So I had learning and growing to do. And so now is the divine time, because I have the time, because I have the mind, because you know what I mean? Like all of that is right here. And it's beautiful to be able to see, like, that was a seed that was planted, but the soil, man, it had to be tilled, it had to be redone and it had all of that to come now full circle. And that ties into the fulfillment, the abundance, the success, right? Like that for me is it has me moving mountains, you know, one millimeter at a time. You know, it's
well, these guys right here, they knew something. They knew something about moving mountains. They knew they had some technology, man, that's been lost. Had to concoct some of the feats of architecture just alone, you know. Still standing, man. Still
precision.
Yes. You know, they didn't have distractions like TVs and radios and social media, phones, stuff like that. They watched
life and death.
Yeah.
All right, we will. If you do not go out there and move for 18 hours in the day, we will slaughter your entire family. Matter of fact, just to let you know that we're serious, your firstborn or whatever, your old, you know what I mean? Like, done. There's no discussion.
Yes. you know, and that was an entirely different astrological age. You know, if I understand correctly, what would that be? What's before Pisces? Aries? Is it Aries? Yeah, I think so.
Right before, is it? No, I thought isn't it Aquarius?
Aquarius. Okay.
No.
All right, somewhere
I think
in
it's
between.
Aquarius.
All right, this is we are exiting the Piscean age and going into the new Aquarian age. I know that.
Okay.
For some reason, I think the age and the Piscean age or the Piscean age was ushered in by the coming of Christ into the world. Okay, so the two fishes represent Christ and Judas Iscariot, evidently. So, or perhaps Christ and Mary Magdalene as female counterpart. I don't know. But the astrological age prior to that, I believe, was the age of Aries, which was signified by the blowing the horn, the ram's horn. That's like a recurring symbol throughout Old Testament. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so as these astrological ages or these epochs change and one merges into the next, you know, there's massive shifts. Civilizations collapse. And so I feel like, and I'm not the only one, we're on the verge of one. We're on the verge of a massive transition. You know, we're right there. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So, I am fairly new to being mindful when it comes to astrology and numerology and things of that. You know, I believe being in the wisdom community and having conversations with yourself and others in the community, you know, opened up the exploration, you know, into what you're saying, right? Spiritually, I felt it. Energetically, I felt the shift. I felt the openness. And I mean, really, understanding myself as an empath and what we all went through when we were all locked down, and how, you know, I was working at a karaoke bar at the time, working security, even when it was, you know, starting to open up, and just to see the fear, to feel how people were just, you know, it was a point when I loved shaking hands and giving hugs, and I understand, but even at the thought of doing it, people would be aghast, like, oh my, you know what I mean? And so to be at a place where I understand the desire for connecting, yet still we've been conditioned to, whoa, not out of the wood, you know what I mean? So it's a shift that we're riding the wave of our own journeys, and people that are searching for avenues and ways to, you know, I have it on my shirt, you can't really see it, hope, right? So it says hope on my shirt, to instill that, to give a breath or breadcrumbs of that for others. You know, that's what we're able to do. It starts with us being able to do it with ourselves, then our family, and then those that are searching for ways out into the light. You know, I know that shift is already here. It's been tested with, you know, other groups of conscious thinkers, where at a certain specific time, tens of thousands or thousands of people will meditate sin, love, and light intentionally at that moment, and that can be measured, and it's felt throughout the world in different ways, whether, you know, no accidents or no deaths, murders, crime for a certain amount of, like, you can say it's coincidence, but when that sort of elevated frequency is measured, that love that is permeating and resonating and vibrating all around the earth, not just in that one isolated location, because we're all connected to that. And so, you know, I am right there with you with that massive shift. Like, this is the preamble. You know, people are starting to open up themselves and allow their souls to expand by actually finding some alignment and trying something different outside of what they were conditioned or what they were taught, that kind of left so many of us empty. So yeah, I'm right in line with that shift. That's, you know, it's ever present, and it's going to evolve exponentially with that shift, coinciding with specifically what you were mentioning, the age, you know, transitioning from age to age.
Yeah, that's like become one of the questions I ask every one of my guests is, where do you feel like we fall in this age? But you just gave me the answer. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like, we are we are at the forefront of it.
Yeah, we are,
You know,
man.
we know we followed our own breadcrumbs, and like we've just had a breath of it. Like, oh man. And so we're searching, and we're discovering, and we're going back, and we're sharing, and we're, you know, blueprinting. Hey, here are some of the paths you can, but giving them the choice. Here, insert your passion, insert your love, but you're tasked with doing the same exact thing that I'm doing with you, so we can continue to pay forward beyond time. That way, it's not like, oh my God, this is the secret. No, everybody gets an opportunity of this insight, of this of the love that is really guiding all of our ships. That's the compass, right? It's that compass, that's that soul that we are all connected to, and we are resonating and moving in that direction, as you mentioned, together.
That North Star, that whole point, that we're all approaching. Yeah, it's like now we're getting into things like vacuums in space and things that happen in a black hole, and you know, fucking dark matter. What's a soul made out of? You know, what Yeah, what's a soul worth? You know, infinitely. I believe it's something infinitely dense. You know, I
Yeah.
think I think it's I think a soul is more powerful than, or contains more power than something. I don't know, man. I'm thinking it's more potent than a black hole. You know what I mean? I would think that a soul couldn't be ripped apart in a black hole, even though
Right.
light can escape.
Right.
You know, I don't think anything can kill a soul. Soul never dies. You
I'm
know.
right there with you because it's you know it's that energy that always and that's the thing as humans there is the a lot of times there's the battle and we're told about the battle between the conscious and the subconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's always
Mm-hmm.
a how do you figure out to tame control, like there's so much. My personal experience and even just recently one of the things I've shared is, you know, with all of the talks that I've done and, you know, having the accolades of being, you know, one of the top 3 series in 2022 and all that sort of stuff, you know, there have
Uh,
been
you were number one. In the top three, fucking A, you're number one, man.
from listen, I receive it from your yes,
Mm,
you are correct. And you know, to there's certain conversations, certain people try to throw their weight or words or try to goad me or try to, man, is he always energetic? Love, is he always this way? And I
yes.
and that's a choice because I
Yes, I
know
know, right?
what that darkness is, and that's something that is just not when I go there, it's not just like an easy switch off, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I have conditioned myself to not allow that. I'm not one of those people to say, oh, I'm not that person. That energy's still in there, but it's counterbalanced by the awareness and the love for like that's easy to do down
Mm-hmm.
there, right? And so to be at a place where my subconscious now puts in place safeguards that make me pause, where in my conscious mind I'm quick-witted, and so it's easy to go to somebody and hurt them to their core.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized the other day that when I was experiencing that, my subconscious threw up some smoke screens to allow me. And so now it's, think about this. What if, mentioning that power of the soul, what if we started to embrace a collaborative energy between the subconscious and the conscious versus somewhat of an adversarial being at the forefront of we have to tame it because it's fight or flight automatically, but it's so much more than that. It already regulates the body and the needs without us having to consciously think about it. Yes, when emergencies arise, we're at peak performance because of the subconscious. So you mean just in those 2 examples, we want to have the subconscious under our thumb consciously? No, let's work in that synergy and see how powerful the soul can be, right? And
Yes.
and that's my like obsession now. Let me see more of that. Let me share more of the collaborative synergy between subconscious mind and conscious mind, because I
Mm-hmm.
mean we're all of the universal consciousness, that divine source. So why are we splitting hairs and trying to figure out the origination of soul? That's a analytical conscious. We have to know, and we just can't accept something that was everlasting, always is, always was. We have to try to
Mm-hmm.
dark matter versus light matter, and we already
Yeah.
know how that could be misconstrued, right?
Yeah. 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 As above, so below. I mean, it is what it is, and you want it to be that way. So you want to facilitate what you can to allow that marriage to take place, that yin and yang, hot and cold, Venus and Mars, whatever have you. Or at this point, I think it's Venus and Saturn. I think right now, I just looked at the I was looking at the energetics and the planetary aspects at the moment. Venus and Saturn are conjunct at the moment, I believe. So that's significant right now. Um, uh,
And what does that mean when you say again, like the Venus and the Saturn, and explain that to me so I can.
like they're in bed together, you know, having sharing pillow talk. Um, Venus is the planet of love and desire, and all things sensual. Saturn is the planet of largesse, grandiosity. Um, Jupiter's the planet of fortune and luck. But Saturn is Saturn's a mighty ruler, and you know, so I guess you would consider those two forces, because Venus is like Helen of Troy, okay, the face that launched 1,000 ships, and Saturn is like Odin or Zeus. I think that these gods align with Saturn, archetypally, archetypically, if that's the word. They have those are the correspondents, planetary correspondents. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll go one further, and tell you what Shawnee thinks about moon sextile sun. Oh, there's a lot going on right now, man. It's there's 4 planets in Aquarius right now. There's where we've just reached our first quarter moon. I don't know, I'm on a moon kick right now because I've been doing shows with Graciela Moore lately, and she's the moon goddess, basically.
Yeah. Shout out to Graciela Moore.
Graciela,
Moon magic and mindfulness with grace.
And I don't know. As far as astrology goes, man, I'm more of an intuitive.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are the energies that I pick up on. I'm kind of new to it. You know?
I dig it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I understand right now. Venus and Saturn are in bed together, as far as I understand.
Okay. Do you think that having as many different modalities and having to keep up astrologically with this moon and how it affects, do you think that may sometimes that amount of knowledge can be detrimental to your energies, knowing
could be. I never stopped long enough to think about it. I'm usually going down one rabbit hole or another, or the next,
Yeah.
Drawing from one source as long as it's useful, and then if I get bored with it, I move on. Like I was on an I Ching kick there for a while. I haven't done an I Ching reading in a month now. I haven't done Reiki in a few weeks, but it's still part of my energetic makeup.
Yeah.
When it's useful to me, I'll call upon it again. Yeah.
Now, do you do Reiki on yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. That energy transfer, that's something that, and you can stop me if I shared this with you, but I've been energy exchanging and treating and supporting others in their optimal healing for about 8 years. And through the breath work and the feeling, everything's a feeling. Feeling is a secret, right? And really envisioning how that energy would look, of just opening your mind to it. And then again, that connection when you are, when I first started out, I would not touch someone. I would, kind of hover my hands around so they could feel it energetically. And then actually what I would do is I would ask them to put their hand like on the table, right? And then I would put my hands around and I would send energy through their hand and move it, and their fingers would jump and they would trip out like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after that, I would touch them if they were hurting somewhere, right? And then they would be able to feel different sensations. I made it a practice to not say, hey, did you feel warmth or cold? I would ask, hey, because I would feel it. And I would ask them, what does it feel like to you? And they may say static electricity, or cool or calming if they had some muscle pain, or like most times hot, like red hot, right? And so to feel that from not only me feeling it, but for others to like, yo, what is that? I'm like, man, it's not me. This is way above my pay grade. But it's honoring that connection, and something that I always ask for, to be that beacon of light, to be the one to help and to administer support and whatever, even energetically, right? So then that opens up a connection of us talking about Reiki and what that feels like to be, and so it's just like, man, all these different sources of connection, which are sources of empowerment, right? That allow us to speak to others. Like I learned from you when it comes to astrology, right? And I can pose a question to you, and that just expands the conversation beyond the norm of what we were reared in terms of maybe just church, or maybe it was your own, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Nothing else.
Right. That was it.
And it was all abdicated to other people to foster our spiritual selves. Our parents didn't teach us. Mine didn't. Spiritually, they didn't teach us much. I mean, my mom taught me how to my night prayers and stuff like that. But spiritually, it was always something that was Father Mulvaney's job to teach us. Or Sister Mara or Sister Mary. Just that was my experience growing up.
Yeah. And I had my own growing up in the Methodist and Baptist church, the pastors and the deacons and, the first, all that sort of stuff. But in that teaching, what I've learned, it gave a foundation for exploration into that connection with God force. But a lot of it was devoid of actual feeling and tangible, hey, we're leaving church and you're not cursing out somebody in the parking lot, or like, wait a minute, you were just, like there's the correlation. It didn't add up.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. And then it was always a feeling of conviction. Like, hey, now, if you don't do this, you're not going to make sure. But like, this is the connection. We're born from that. And so the connection, there's no severance there. Us as we don't have that power to sever a bond that was around before we even took a breath. So now under this edifice, that is the case, that there is an ultimate separation, and you have to, that didn't really, so now being here.
Yeah. I'm here. Yeah. I'm here for the same reason. For the same reason. Yeah. I found a lot of it that didn't resonate with me. And a lot that did. A lot that still does. Yeah. But again, with the new that's emerging makes more sense to me because again, with the synchronous events that just that and the telepathic, the extrasensory, the communal activities that, like I'm like, okay, I just pop on, and there you are. You just started your talk, or something like that. This happens. This happens a lot,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
a
And,
lot.
and you're not the only one that has said that, right? So that really
Mm-hmm.
gives confirmation to how strong that soul bond is, right? And once you're
Mm-hmm.
connected, you're connected. It's just whether or not you want to tune into that frequency. It's like a television set, right? If for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason at a certain time, a television show or program you don't want to watch, you turn the channel on another frequency. That's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with our interaction, right? Like you can
Mm-hmm.
always go back to that connection because guess what? In the subconscious mind where all the memories are kept, the emotions tied to the good times, we can go back there and reminisce and then
Mm-hmm.
learn and grow from it and say, you know what, maybe there's some outgrowth there, but that's okay. We always had, nothing can take away what was shared, right? And
Right.
continuing to string together, those moments, again, uh, you and I connecting, I can talk about 10 years from now, I'll be talking about how, you know, connecting over Benji and Soul from a profile picture on an audio platform, a social audio platform, to now fast forwarding 10 years later and all the things that we will be able to and our families will be able to experience together. You know what I mean? That's like that is combining that's being able to see families, from different parts of the country, but again, oscillating on that same loving energy and growth and togetherness, and being able to see it from both of our perspectives and have it come together and know that it's going to be elevated emotion when that comes together because of where we are, as the servant leaders of our families, right? And that's, man, I'll take that any day of the week, even in a leap year.
Yeah.
this is this is success. This is success because guess what? We are, embarking on so many things and cutting our teeth on so many things together as we are
Mm-hmm.
building our communities, as we're expanding and putting together new projects like the one that you're working on with Cynthia, right? And feel free if you like to share, about that as well, because that in itself, from me meeting you and seeing all the amazing things that you are putting in line and have achieved, not only in corporate, but creatively, and that's pretty dope too for me as somebody who loves you to be able to be like, hell yeah, I already knew it. Yep. Yep. Let's go.
Let's go. They're asleep, but
My bad.
it's okay. No, it's all. You're only
Oh,
coming
that's right.
through
Yeah.
with me. um, Otherwise, I'd do like I did that other day when my son came running in and was like, "What's wrong, Dad? What's wrong? What happened?"
I love it. Oh, that's awesome. On Wisdom, they call me Mr. Let's Go.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. It's
Mm.
pretty, like, again, that's success for us, man. Like, to all the different tries and if we have an idea, hey, let's do it. Right. As I shared with you and shared with Andrea Raquel, starting to read her book next week, live on air. And I said, I was inspired by you and Anthony's episode on a little bit of synergy. I said, afternoon tea at 2. And she was like, I hate it and I love it. You know what I mean? But it's just something fun. Like, let's try it. If we have to change a little bit, we change. But it's all to pay honor and respect to those that have been embarking and are
Mm.
currently embarking on the same path of wanting to bring, knowledge to light, which creates the insight for people to choose, they're a different path that allows them different results.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, and Andre is fun to flow with.
Yeah.
He's fun to flow with.
I'm about to get her on on flow state.
You need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she don't ever. What how do I put it, man? She don't ever get tripped up, man. She just rolls, just rolls and flows. Just, okay, okay. You know what I mean? She's so good,
Brother. If you look at some of the stats, and she has like an 8-hour marathon, you have to be able to roll. And whose
You
line is
got
it
to.
anyway? Plus the depth, like 8 hours straight.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful.
Oof. So yeah, man, this is you and I having this conversation, and flowing and just sharing, man. Share with me I know, and I've shared how proud I am of Soul to be a grandfather. Share with me what dimension that took you to when you became a grandfather.
It took me a minute, It took me a minute to warm up to the idea, because at first I was like, okay, we'll see if this materializes, and if this. My son already had his mind made up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at first I was like, well, we'll see. We'll see, because he's so young. I wasn't going to allow myself to. But all that changed. When remember, I guess he was about a month old, and I was leaning down over him, and I came in from above, and we met like this, eyes met, and he let out this little shriek, this baby noise,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh my God, that's your friend. That is your buddy right there. The universe just gave you a new friend. That and a blank slate, tabula rasa, man. Just fucking, just innocence and instant love, instantaneous, just like that. So, and that put wind back under my wings, because I had we were in a weird place, we were in kind of a emptying nest, they were leaving. All the kids were leaving, and just kind of in a rut. It changed everything, man. It changed everything, and now Benji, man, he's I tell everyone he's my bliss. I'm sure you understand. I'm sure you understand that, man. It's yeah. Anytime anybody asks me what my definition of happiness is, I'm like, I don't know, but I can tell you I know it when I'm with my grandson. I know that much.
Did you have relationships with your grandfathers?
Yeah. Well, one of them, yeah. My mother's father, Leo Anthony Russo, passed away when my mother was 6 years old. So I never knew him. But evidently I look, act, and talk just like him. And, just from people that have known him. And my grandmother. She did remarry. My grandmother did remarry, but I wasn't close with that man very much. He wasn't much of a grandfather, I guess. Step grandfather. But my pawpaw, on the other hand, is a whole different story. And I'm pawpaw. I'm Benji's pawpaw for that reason, because my dad's dad was one of the the best men I've ever met and ever will know. Yeah. He knew my kids. You know, all my kids had a relationship with my pawpaw. So, you know, that was an honor because I had kids young enough. I had my children young enough so that both of my grandparents on my dad's side, my papa and my mama, were still alive, and they got to know my kids and enjoy my kids, and my kids have memories of both of them. You know, so yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't have any experience. You know, I'm the youngest of six, and so my
Mm-hmm.
older brothers, they're almost 10 years older than I am, and so, you know, my mom's father passed away before even, I think, when my brother and sister were two. And then my dad didn't meet his father until he was on his deathbed. So I never knew
Um,
any experience with extended family, let alone grandfathers. Grandmothers, a little bit, but they were in Philadelphia and I was in Houston. So it was, you know, via the phone. And so when my daughter was pregnant, people started asking me, like, well, what is it going to feel like? I have no idea because none of my friends growing up really had grandfathers come over the house and, oh, this is grandpa. I didn't know it. I just knew at that time, I was like, this is another being for me to love on.
mm-hmm.
Right. And it was a symbol
Mm-hmm.
of the healing between my daughter and I because we had our healing. She came down at an emotional time where she needed to get away and, you know, she needed me to love and support her. And I was able to, you know, talk to her stomach with soul in the womb and, you know, give energy through breath work and literally, you know, and so when he was born and I was on FaceTime and as soon as he heard my voice, like fresh newborn, like for him to start like looking towards the sound of my voice, oh my God, I was in tears because it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's confirmation of that connection, even without us spending an absorbent amount of time. It was a couple of weeks, but every day it
Mm-hmm.
was, how's my man doing? Man, I can't wait to
Mm-hmm.
meet you. And just so having that sort of
Yeah.
experience, holy crap.
Oh, I know, man. I I hadn't seen my buddy in 3 weeks now, or not since Christmas actually, however long that's been, almost a month. And I started feeling some real serious separation anxiety with my heart this past week. Yes, my wife. One day I was like, I miss him, I miss him. I couldn't help it, you know. I sobbing like like a little baby, just because my heart was sad. You know, I miss him. I don't want to miss anything. You know, and FaceTime is great. Thank God for FaceTime. You know, that's great, but it's not the same as, you know, as getting to spend time with them and pick them up and let them just wear your ass out, trying to keep up with them. You know.
Yeah. It was pretty dope that I was able to go up around Thanksgiving and be there for his very first birthday. And then my daughter turned 24 right after Thanksgiving. And so to be there for 2 weeks and, you know, my baby girl came with me, we flew up there and to have that quality time,
Yeah, yeah.
wow. It's you know, speaking to being able to, even in 2 weeks, like the amount being immersed in each other, there were only a handful of hours when I wasn't with him or around, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
to dance and to sing and to have certain things that when he sees me on FaceTime, because we're not in the same state, for him to light up. Oh my God, Anthony, last week when when my daughter called and he had just kind of like stern face. He was kind of like looking. And then when I was like, hey, man, his face lit up and smiled. And oh, when I say my soul shifted, seeing he had a stone face. And then when he realized who it was, oh my God, my heart just
Yeah.
melted.
Yeah. 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 Benji was like that today. He's like, hi. Hi. Hi, Papa. yeah, Papa. And then he had something to tell me, and I couldn't understand it, but you know, that doesn't matter. He'll tell me when he gets here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool, man. And man, I always appreciate when you share those videos and such with me, man, because again, like
Me too.
you're bringing me there, and I feel it, through your eyes, of course, man, and that's really dope to be able to, experience that.
Of course, man. Of course. I mean, definitely love to share with you, man.
Yeah,
Definitely, because you get it. I wouldn't if you didn't.
yeah.
If you didn't feel it.
It's a beautiful, beautiful give and take.
Yes, it
Beautiful give
is.
and take, and that's being able to be in a community that allows for that, right? For the both of us to, in our own in creative endeavors, knowing that, man, when we put this out, there are going to be others out there that's like, yo, this is something that Benji and Soul will be able to tell their friends about. Look what our grandfathers did. This is almost, this for me feels like the Silicon Valley garage conversations. It's the stepping stones for really thriving respectively, but then collaboratively, like the communities that I've cultivate and create and
Mm-hmm.
you do, and them come and have that synergy.
Mm-hmm.
That's that shift that we were talking about earlier, where we can do something together at the same time. And hey, we're going to be intentional across the board of
Mm-hmm.
sending the love and the synergy. And as you say, a breath. Can you
Mm-hmm.
send one breath to your fellow human being all at the same time with that fiber of love that is uniquely to you? Send that
Mm-hmm.
to the cosmos as others are, and watch what happens.
Yeah. I remember saying
Hmm.
that.
You know me, man. I'm a sponge. Like when something hits my soul first, it's locked in. And then every time I say it, I say my brother Anthony Thomas. He said, "Hey, if you can share something, most people say share a prayer or share thoughts and meditations, but let's start out with sending a breath, an intentional breath to somebody that needs it." Whew.
Mhm.
Woo! That hit me. I was like, ooh. That's so good. Oh, that's so good.
You honor me.
Man, that's the
Um,
that's the method to the magic, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got some of the sweetest smelling incense, man. And it's the last of its kind. It's called yoga.
Yeah?
And yeah, Satya, the same people that make Nag Champa, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, now I don't think they make this stuff anymore. This is an older looking one I found. It's the last one of them. Oh, it's so sweet, man. I'm just like filling the air with it tonight.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I was doing the same earlier. I think earlier I did Reiki. There's one Reiki, and then I have a
Mm-hmm.
package that's, celestial or space, it might be moon, sun,
Uh-huh.
stars, that sort of and they always just, that aroma just puts you in a place of just,
Yeah. I'm intentional. I'm very intentional about which fragrances I pick. And
yeah.
I've just started working with essential oils. This is one called Dragon's Blood.
Okay.
Uh, it's um, it's uh, it's aligned with the god Mercury or Thoth, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, that's all I know. But the herbs that are used in there are used to honor the god Mercury.
Okay.
Essentially. It smells really
How
good.
does that equate to also a feeling too? Like, does it give a certain sense of,
Yeah.
yeah, insert whatever, dragon blood.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This This stone right here that I'm holding, it's called cinnabar.
Cinnabar.
Cinnabar. That's not that's not gonna do it justice. It's a beautiful stone, man. Also known as the
Is that purple?
Colossus.
Is that purple on top, or is that because of the
Yes.
lighting?
No, you're right. You're seeing purple crystals.
Okay.
Yeah. In a quartz matrix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal looking stone. Cinnabar literally means dragon's blood. This stone is associated with the god Mercury. It actually contains the metal mercury and sulfur. And when metal and sulfur combine, they create these red crystals called cinnabar. Okay. And we could get very deep into this, what this stone by in itself means. Are you familiar with the Emerald Tablet of Hermes?
I am not.
Well, that's another conversation. but it's where you know what? Let me go ahead and get it.
Okay.
It's short. The Emerald Tablet of Hermes.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and read. In truth, without deceit, certain and most veritable, that which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. And just as all things have come from this one thing, through the meditation of one mind, so do all created things originate from this one thing through transformation. Its father is the sun, its mother the moon. The wind carries it in its belly, its nurse is the earth. It is the origin of all, the consecration of the universe. Its inherent strength is perfected if it is turned into earth. Separate the earth from fire, the subtle from the gross, gently and with great ingenuity. It rises from earth to heaven and descends again to earth, thereby combining within itself the powers of both the above and the below. Thus will you obtain the glory of the whole universe. All obscurity will be clear to you. This is the greatest force of all powers because it overcomes every subtle thing and penetrates every solid thing. In this way was the universe created. From this come many wondrous applications because this is the pattern. Therefore am I called thrice greatest Hermes, having all three parts of the wisdom of the whole universe. Herein have I completely explained the operation of the sun.
When you started reading that, it started raining.
Yeah. This is a powerful text. Supposedly that's what was inscribed upon a tablet made of emerald stone that was discovered in the Pharaoh's tomb originally. And it's like an occult relic that's appeared at different points throughout the ages. Nobody knows where it is currently, I don't believe. But there's this book contains about maybe 15 different translations of that stanza that I just read.
Yeah.
It's like Isaac Newton has a version. In here, there's a ancient Chinese translation in here, and there's just, and the rest of it's just kind of it's all dissecting that right there because that's what was inscribed upon that tablet. And that is the great alchemical work.
I dig it. Alchemy, yeah, man. The transmuting.
Transmutation,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, transmutation.
Mm-hmm.
We're even looking at practically how how the alchemists back in the day were, transmuting the iron ore and all and the different into gold. I mean, now in the modern day, we're utilizing, from the spiritual aspect, right? It's not, necessarily a tangible thing, but it's moving in the spirit of what those alchemists stood for, but we're doing it so that we're helping others be able to transmute their own understanding into the end result, them going from that coal, that iron ore, transmuting to that gold and those gems of their own volition.
Yeah. Yes. Transmuting base vile metals into precious gold and gems. Yeah. Transmuting one. Okay, I did a speech on this, on wisdom, called it Transmutation 101. And the difference between transmutation and transformation and transfiguration. And well, it made sense that morning when I was flowing. I need to go back and listen to it.
I'm gonna go back and listen too.
Yeah, because I'm just a channel, you know. You say it, I'm just a vessel. I say I'm just a channel.
That's right.
You know, it is.
That's right.
But evidently, you've got transformation, which would be like lighting a match. No. Yes, lighting a match. You're transforming once. Okay, let's start. Let's start by changes in states of matter, phases of matter. You've got solid, liquid, and gas, basically. You've got plasma. You've got super solids and other things that show up in quantum states. But for the most part, you've got solid, liquid, and gas. All right, and then so let's say all matter can freeze, all matter can boil, all matter can burn, essentially. And let's say you want to do something with ice or with water. You start with frozen water in the form of ice, and you melt it slowly, and then if you keep applying heat and pressure to it, it will turn into steam, which is a gas. There's also the possibility of there's a rare state of being that, well, it lies on your vapor and pressure curve, what's called the sublimation point. And that's when something goes from a solid to a gas, instantaneously bypassing the liquid phase because of in the sweet spot where the pressure and the temperature is just right. Mm-hmm. Sublimates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. That's transcendental, but not as transcendental as transmutation. Transmutation is where something literally transmits, transfers. Let's be careful here. Where it shifts from one form to another, and not like a chemical change where you have, like, say, when you strike a match and your wood burns, and then it goes from being wood to soot. You know, that's a chemical change. That's something that the wood rapidly oxidized with oxygen, and it gave off heat in the form of fire and light and energy, or smoke and whatever other shit's going on at that level. And even that's not as spectacular as transmutation.
Yeah.
You know,
that's an elemental going from, one atomic configuration to a completely different one, through that process of alchemy, like that energy to be able to, that's oof.
And I think we're going to learn that it's more attainable than we ever thought.
Yeah, we're living, breathing evidence of that.
Mm-hmm.
look at what you have been able to do, shifting lives through the frequency and vibration of you channeling your gifts through music, and how you've created the ripple effect since you found passion in that, that you couldn't even comprehend the joy just from bringing that from a formless thought, emotion, creation, curiosity, imagination, like having all that to have something that people can enjoy. And all of what you sent me binaurally, making up words here, Jesse Jackson. um all of those, the will o wisp, the soul R
Yeah.
exchange, the rainbow, cadences,
Caduceus.
yeah, cadences, yeah, the RDIDG, that's one of the ones, the art. So it's funny, one of my nicknames is R Digi, at a Y. So to have you send something that is right in line, and that R Digi comes from one of my friends. He used to call me like R Digital, and so my brother calls me Digi, and I was R Digi for a while. So you never knew that, and so
No, I'm just a channel, man.
And so I said the next time that you and I had a conversation, I was going to share that with you, that synchronicity, that was the last one that you created and sent to me, and have how that resonates with my own personal life. And now I'm able to add it to some of my creations to pass that same positive effect forward, right? Like it's just amazing to be in the transmutation business that allows others to have that transformation, because they're empowered to take action because of seeing the framework, the blueprint, the conversations, the soft outlines, whatever, the drafts, whatever you want to call it. We're able to bring that to the forefront so that those that resonate with this vessel, your channeling, man, come get some of this love, because it comes in droves and it's boundless.
Yes, man. Yes.
So how can you not be successful with that? With every, like that's falls right in line. Being able to bring something out of the quantum into this realm and have it last forever. Not in terms of like worrying about but the emotions that are tied to it and the accessibility to it for others around the world for as long as the net is around. That's timeless.
That's Akashic, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, timeless. Yeah, we're talking about on the memory map of the universe, the multiverse. It's engraved therein. Yeah, intentionally, with intent.
Intentionally. And it's awesome because when we put that out there, it is like it's almost like the Matrix, right? When you plug in all that wealth of energy that's put out there to be digested, whether it's your music, your binaural beat, like all those sorts of things, the poetry that I put out, the audio, like all of that is meant for universal consumption. And so when people want to fill in the gaps with the emotion and the love that we put through our art, guess what? They can plug in and I know Kung Fu.
Yeah. Nice. I so get that. I so get that. Yeah.
It's man, what we're able to do, man. You got any final thoughts?
Man, I'm gonna be buzzing on this one for a while. Yeah, final thoughts, man. Let's be mindful of our quantum existence, like I think we've established throughout this episode. You know what I mean? We're more than just two halves of a coin. We're both, simultaneously in a state of superimposition at all times. We're only limited by our observations and what we perceive ourselves to be. Once we get past that, then we step into the realm of pure potential. And once we're there, we can manifest whatever we want. And let's just make it something good and beneficial. Let's just make sure we're doing our best to align with the highest selves.
Right.
Because that'll be the best for the greatest good for everyone. Everyone involved. Because according to quantum entanglement, we're all part of the same stew. So we might as well make it as good as we can for the people coming behind us, that went before us, people that are journeying with us. Yeah, that's what I feel.
Yeah, man. And with what you just said, look how we seamlessly were able to find this space of parallel in our lives and be able to grow together just from sharing like that. And with what you just said, how entangled we are, let's celebrate it. Let's investigate, let's explore, because that unknown exploration, man, that's where the magic of discovery and it's just beautiful. I've said it throughout the show, and I'm going to be buzzing too, because I already knew, right? There's what else my brain was already primed and ready for more of that stimulation from us simulating. Right? I'm not going to argue with somebody whether or not this existence is a simulation or not. I am going to simulate all that I desire. And when you and I, it's like parts of Voltron coming together. We all have, we're all necessary and vital. And when we join forces, man, there's as you mentioned earlier, there isn't anything that we can't accomplish, right? To go from moments of mindset and a little bit of synergy, and for us to come together and have a flow state and to honor everyone that listens in, everyone that watches, everyone that subscribes, everyone that chooses to be a part of the community. We're community builders, and we build it in our uniqueness and in our passion, and it just brings about a flow where he can channel downloads, I can create and be a vessel, and it's all part of the journey, which feels like a voyage. And so, man, thank you so much, Anthony, for joining me in this hour and us vibing like we naturally do. And every single time it's that much sweeter and that much better. And I know that our families and our loved ones are so much better for it. And I'm talking generations from now, because with this documentation, it'll be generations upon generations with technology to be able to follow back and reverse engineer what we've created here, man. So I love you so very much, man. And I appreciate you for honoring me and blessing me, man, with your soul. Like we have soul conversations, and it just goes so deep down the rabbit hole, which ends up being the quantum, which ends up coming out on the other side of the black hole. And it's just a beautiful thing, man. And it's an honor to share space and time and end up making this timeless with you.
You honor me, man. You made me the first guest on the new Soul Child, #1,
right,
man. That's
history, man. History is made.
I love
history
this,
was made. the premier
Awesome.
guest on Moments of Mindset Flow State. What better way, man?
Awesome, man. It's awesome.
Well, good stuff, man. Well, thank everyone for tuning in. Again, I am Rodney Williams, and this is Flow State. I was joined by the brilliant and innovative Anthony Thomas. And before you go, share with the listeners and the viewers where they can actually, find you. Share your social media, share your link, whatever, however you choose to share how people can connect with you. Please do that.
Open to collaborate, open for hire, open. I am currently hiring myself out for custom binaural or meditative or session music, what have you. I'm always open to collaborate on whatever level. I love it. I love working with other artists or other ingenious people, whatever. A little bit of Synergy podcast, and is available on all major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on Anchor, of course. Then there's the YouTube channel, which is where my primary focus is at the moment. A little bit of Synergy on YouTube. There's only one. I'm also on SoundCloud. I'm starting to put a little more music out there on SoundCloud. Got one song on Apple Music and Spotify. Hopefully more soon. The album's coming out on shamanisis.com and Audible. Anthony Thomas 2633 on Instagram as well as Facebook. There's a little bit of synergy here. Anthony.Thomas11001 at gmail.com if you want to reach me directly.
Fantastic. Of course. And I'm going to put that in the notes as well, so make it easy for people to just click and they'll go right to you. So yeah, man, thank you again. Thanks to everyone that is listening. I love you all. Until next time, I'm Rodney Williams, and this is my Flow State.